Oh, good Lord. Um, I guess I gotta remove my Twitter thing. It doesn't let me do it. Okay, here I am. Um, Looks like Steven, Sarah, Slack, William. Hello, Lynn, Mark, whatever. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Sarah, here for the first time. She wants to be acknowledged. She also gave me an exordium for this. So I'll say for a student who used AI to write a paper, which I heard about. Now apparently they have reverse AI detection. So teachers can plug papers into AI and say, was this written by AI? Wow. Um, for a student who used AI to write a paper. Is my sound good? I did not check this because I just got in here. Also just smashed my head. I was running around quickly. I wish I could share picture doing that. Okay, seems to be working. I wish I could share pictures from I was just working on. I'm doing a basement bathroom remodel, and my furnace used to have a drip line. My AC and furnace used to have a drip line that just ran through some PVC into a hose into the old floor drain, which is where this like roughed in shower was. And yeah, I don't know. I whacked it hard, man. And what up, Don? I also see Jeff's here. Lots of people here. I'll get back to your exordium, Sarah. And so I had to rerun all this PVC, and I'm not. It's easy. I mean, it's easy stuff, I guess, but I'm trying to hurry. I don't think I've ever really done that before. Interestingly, with all my construction background, I've never really worked with PVC stuff because I don't really do AI or not AI. That's where see my brain. That's where I think ahead of my head. I just said AI. Clearly not what I'm talking about. My brain just went back. My mind. I don't really work with PVC because I don't do a lot of plumbing or HVAC stuff. So I think I got it done. And then I'm a little, but it's apropos to this talk because when I talk about anything, I'm talking about everything. And I'm a perfectionist. I'm an idealist. I want it to be perfect and I want it to be right. But when you're not experienced with something and you want it to be perfect, good luck. Mark, good to see you, my friend. You guys want to come on for a reunion too? I could. If I had this like on my phone, I could send you guys a private link. How could I send you a private link? I could email it to you or something to let you on before everyone else, but I don't know how to do that. It's too complicated. You have to wait like everyone else. You guys don't get special privileges because I'm technologically not savvy. So that took me longer than I wanted. It's annoying. Okay. Sarah's exordium, which also smarty pants. It's the first time I've heard that word. Now I let it fall back in the grasses. I hear you. I know. This life is hard now. I know your days are precious on this earth. But what are you trying to be free of? The living? The miraculous task of it? Love is for the ones who love the work. That's good. That's really good. That's true. I'll let you guys on. I can drop the link and then listen. Yeah, and I'll only let you. That's true. And I'll only let actually, I'm going to do it this way. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do it annoyingly. This is where if I had branding, can I talk and type at the same time? Probably not. I would put it in. I need to make branding at some point. I need somebody who's good at making branding to like do these clips that I want and then teach me how to do it. in StreamYard because I don't know. CXYH4, if you can figure it out. BHRRE. Okay, let's do that. And I'll send it. I don't have a group. I could send it to the bigger group. I just send it to you, Jeff. I'll do it to the Jeff. You're in the big friends group, aren't you? I'll put it in there. Yeah, make some branding for me, guys. Jeez. All right. So if you guys get that, you can come in. Doesn't look like anyone has seen it yet. And egalitarians can't allow special privileges. Dude, underrated guy. Yeah. Well, thank you. Can't help but agree with that. I was just telling my wife yesterday though, I need to work on my just deeply seated POS theology because I've realized lately that I'm really self-critical and really hard on myself, and it's just pride, I think. I have a really hard time with self-forgiveness, and I judge myself for everything. Just like everything that's wrong with the world. I was having this interaction. It was on Mark's channel, Mark Parker, and Mark's conversation with Mark, the K and the C, had a conversation, and I referenced POS theology, of which George and Mark C had never heard of. Mark with a C, and I said there is something to it, like the original guilt thing, or like the, the Catholic mea culpa, my fault, my grievous fault. And then there is even that idea a little bit in Dostoevsky, like Father Zosima, and I think in the Eastern Church, or my friend David Williams has said before, he said, may the whole world be saved and I alone cursed. Or Jason Jason Schlesinger. Somebody from my book club's texting me. Jason, are you related to, is it Isla? No. What's her name? Schlesinger, that comedian. Anyhow, but he said, quoting St. Paul, he says, I wish I were accursed for the sake of my brethren, which is very, very Christian. I think it is better for one man to die than the whole nation to die. And that kind of idea, which is kind of reformed-y, federal headship, dying, or even a husband for wives, you're to lay down, that's male headship, laying down your life for your wife, sacrificing yourself for her, either in a red martyrdom of, protecting her physically with your own body, or in just daily acts of service and bearing burdens that she doesn't have to bear, which is very, very hard. And Jeff, I gotta get you the link. Why are you not in the friend group? That's so dumb that you're not in the bigger friends group. That's something we will have to remedy, and I will fix that. So I, like, even in ways where I don't know if it's virtuous or proud or both. This is my living paradox to say, like, even a situation where I think somebody from the outside would be like, nothing in that is your fault. And I'm just like, it's my fault. I recently had something in my family that happened, and I don't know, like, you couldn't look on a superficial level and say something that this event that happened in my family that was, right, depending on your level of resolution that you're looking at it and analyzing it, it's bad. Like, it's bad. It's not something you would probably choose, like, I want this to happen. And I think, and like, not like, what up, boy? And I was thinking, like, this is my fault. Like, I think both, it's kind of like, you'll know this, our resident Lewis scholar, but I think it's from his, I'm almost certain, I looked for this the other day, I think it's from Out of the Silent Planet, like within one of the first few pages. There's this Lewis line, which I have not committed to memory, and I can never quote it properly, but you'll get the idea. But it talks about, it's just like the civility of modern man, half of which is virtue and half of which is vice. It's something like that. If I had Robot Lady, I would just be like, what is it, Robot Lady? Can you be my human Robot Lady, Jeff? Can you hear me? What is happening?
I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
Oh, I was like, you are doing an excellent job not reacting to me
I
at
have to
all.
pull you up on my iPad over here. I can see you talking, but I can't hear anything.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Well, I can hear you. Maybe no one can hear me. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Well, until Jan says he can hear. So, okay. And so does Nate. Dude! No. Who has that? You can't hear me. Grail Country. Are you in the Grail Country thing? Oh. Sarah, save us. You can come and talk to me.
Okay, I
'cause
can hear
Jeff
you now.
Can't hear anything. Grail Country. Are you in the Grail Country thing? Oh. Uh-oh. Somebody's got feedback.
Oh,
Sarah,
is it me?
YouTube. You can come and talk to me.
Okay, I can
because
hear
Jeff
you now.
Can't hear anything. Sarah,
Country.
it's been too
Wait.
long. This is a rookie mistake.
Hang on. This is my first. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is my first time. This is my first time doing this ever.
A live stream?
I can hear Sarah, and I heard you, Luke. Can anyone hear me?
Oh my
I can
goodness.
hear you, Jeff.
This is
Okay,
like
cool.
elder
Luke is-
millennial
Luke
boomer
is.
live streaming.
I can't hear him for some reason.
Weird.
All right. Well, I guess me and you could talk, Sarah. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you have more gray hairs than the last time I saw you.
Yeah, that happens, I guess. It's been a stressful time.
I do too, actually. So.
What is happening?
I feel like the last time I saw you, you had glasses, and I didn't. You reversed it.
Well, I still need them. I just don't wear them as much.
I'll just
Mostly
be here
for
when you
life.
guys are done.
This is all very entertaining for Luke's
I
channel.
like that
He's
Luke
just
is
sitting
cut out
there
of his own
watching.
live stream right now. This is actually.
Yeah,
Sarah, can you hear me?
this
Yes.
is apropos. You know what? The only thing that would make this worse is if Paul came in and clipped this.
I know.
Ridiculous.
I think Luke is going to kick us off.
Wait, can Luke hear Jeff?
I can hear Jeff. He can't hear me. You can hear me. The fault is in his thing. You can be our mediator.
He can hear us, but we can't hear him.
No, Sarah can hear me.
I can hear you.
I wonder if they can hear us on the channel. Yeah, they can hear us on the channel. I just turned up my iPad for a second. That's the only way I can see you, Sarah, right now. Is I had to pull this
All
up.
right,
I had to pull
here
up
we
his
go.
live stream just to be able to see you. Okay, I can see you now.
Yeah, he knows. He can hear me.
He doesn't know that you can hear me.
Yes, he does. I don't.
What's happening? Stupid. Okay.
I start this over.
No, I don't do that. I don't start anything over. I don't edit it. I was
All
talking
right, maybe
to.
I'll leave and see if I can come back.
Yeah, Jeff, get out of here. I was talking to my wife the other day. It's also really hard to never mention her name, which I never want to do. But so I'll just reference, because then I think it in my head and I have to, which is hard for me to never say her name because I have to be attuned to what I'm actually saying, which is not my general mode.
Have you slipped before?
I think I have. I mean, it's out there, and then other people have said it, like
Okay,
Jacob
I can hear you both
shares.
now.
Yes. Because Jacob will like talk about personal details of my life, and I'm just like, I don't make those things public. I speak generically about my family because they are more private. Well, they're children, and she's much more private than me. She's just like, I don't want anything to do with your weird internet cult.
Her name
So-
is my wife.
My wife.
Jeff, you're still in Texas, right?
Yeah. Yep. Just north of Dallas.
How are
What
they?
is that?
Spindrift.
Oh.
The drink of champions. Jason wanted to know what I was drinking.
Mm.
Risto got it. Trish Thompson. That is one of my brother's ex-wife. So there you go. You can figure that out. Yeah, what up? What's going on? What do you want to say before you have to leave? It's 12.
Oh no, I got that door's going to open behind me in just a minute, and I have to go.
Is that an original artwork behind you?
Yeah, that's a self-portrait of my daughter that she did back in middle school. So she doesn't really look like that anymore, but I thought it was pretty cool, so I hung it up.
Nice. Because you have been wanting to draw and do art and stuff like that, so you draw and paint and stuff, right?
Yeah, I do that kind of stuff from time to time.
Do you have Spider-Man on your wall?
Yeah, those are two posters of the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, and then the third Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. If I move over, you can see him.
You like the Spider-Man where he goes like emo cool man? Do you like that
No,
one?
the one at the bottom. It's not my favorite, but it was a gift, so I hung it up.
Sarah, what's your favorite Spider-Man?
I think I've only seen the first one.
I know. That's why it's funny.
I don't know if anybody knows who she is anymore, but Comic Book Girl, well, I think it was Comic Book Girl, said that Tobey Maguire was too whiny to be Spider-Man.
I wasn't crazy about him. My favorite's Andrew Garfield, but that's because I love Andrew Garfield because he's one of my Hollywood man crushes. He's so amazing. I want to be friends with him.
I don't know who that is.
He's
With who?
let's
Andrew
see.
Garfield.
Let's name other movies.
Oh,
Hacksaw Ridge. He's in Hacksaw Ridge.
Never seen it.
You should. It's excellent. It's a great movie about Christian nonviolence, even
Isn't
though
he
he's
in-
from a cult.
some movie called Angels in the Outfield or something like that.
Angels.
No,
Oh,
he's not an Angels in the Outfield. Oh, Silence.
that's throwback.
He's the main priest in Silence.
Oh,
No, he's
yeah,
in,
I've seen that movie.
So that's him. What he's in a lot of
Andrew-
great movies. I have
Andrew
to look them up.
Garfield. Angels.
Jeff's doing it.
Angels in America. Sorry, not Angels in the
What is
Outfield.
that? What is that? I don't know what that
Angels
is.
in the Outfield is like a kids movie, like a.
Oh, it wasn't a movie. I'm sorry. It was a play. It was a stage play that he was in that he got a lot of
No.
accolades for.
He was in The Social Network, I guess, back in
never
the
saw
day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he played I can't remember who he played in The Social Network, but some
don't-
guy who knew Mark Zuckerberg.
It's been a long time since I've watched that.
Yeah. So yeah, Sarah, he played Spider-Man after Tobey Maguire did.
How many Tobey Maguire movies or Spider? How many times did Tobey play Spider-Man?
Well,
He had
did
3 of his own
three,
movies.
and then the collab, right?
Yeah, they had the recent one with Tom Holland, not the author, but the actor.
Mm-hmm.
And Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield made cameos in that movie.
Yeah,
Playing,
I have to differentiate when talking about Luke too. Luke Thompson, this guy, not the actor.
Not the famous actor.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know that he's that famous. Yeah.
oh, my door
Interesting.
opened.
Interesting little
Unexpected.
note, though. Once I was taking a run through a park, and this little boy, who like at some elementary school that was out in the park, called me Tom Holland, though, when I was on a run, because he thought I looked like Tom Holland. So, because I'm short and just incredibly athletic. So lame. I'm in a little group chat with Sarah, Trip Parker, and Sam, whom I met. And did I share the picture with you, Jeff? And I'm the shortest one in
Mm-mm.
the group, so they all like to make fun of me. Actually, I don't
I'm
know.
not
I'm
in this
doubtful.
group
I'm
chat.
shorter than
So
Trip.
We should let Jeff into our group chat, our exclusive group.
I don't know. All those group chat. That's like the only one that's really. That's my most active one that still exists by far. Because I don't really do group chats anymore. I got overwhelmed with them. Life became too busy. This is the famous Sarah that I talk about sometimes in my friends group. Whenever I'm talking about like an old G rando and Sarah, whenever I mention them, that's
why I have exclusive privileges today.
That's this one. Yeah. I knew Sarah out of all the people in the TLC. I knew you first. I knew you before the TLC existed.
Yep.
You're right. Yeah.
I didn't know Sarah until after I knew Luke, but very quickly I knew Sarah after I knew Luke.
Yeah, these were one and two. These are my
Wow.
my online friends.
This is so
Sarah,
exciting.
you're my second online friend. I had another online friend that I don't communicate with anymore. What was his name? I have met him in
Does he
real
run
life, though. Huh?
Does he run a Theology in the Raw podcast?
No. Well, Preston, I guess, counts. Yeah, but the first one that I ever met, I met on Twitter. His name's Dan, actually. I know so many Dans in my life; it's ridiculous. And he's from Ohio, and he's an atheist, actually. When I met him, he was like an ex evangelical atheist who was just pissed off on Twitter talking about religion. And since knowing him,
on Twitter too.
huh? Yeah. That was my foray into online relationships. Was Twitter. Yeah. Because that was my first online platform really that I ever used outside of Grindr. And
What? Right after we first started connecting, Luke, it wasn't through Grindr, it was through email. You turned off your Twitter, like you got off of Twitter like a day after I think we started emailing.
I don't like it because that's actually what's interesting is Twitter. I got on Twitter because I was lonely stay-at-home dad, and I got on there to socialize, and I started meeting people, and I was like, that was cool. But I'm the general kind of like disembodied Gnostic virtue signaling or abstract posting about what you think I don't like it. I never have. And so when I found out that I could just form relationships that way, it's kind of interesting because that's what TLC has become. I think that's widely kind of understood now that it's not, Nathan Ormond, it's deeper than ideas, man. It's not idea centric, it's persons. But I always wanted that even before I would have been able to articulate that, online community. That's where I met Paul, was Grindr. Just kidding, Pastor. Sorry, Reverend. Most honorable Reverend. That's what you're gonna troll me though. So yeah. So then Sarah, I met on Twitter too. She popped up in my DMs as they do.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly how it happened.
And I don't remember how it happened actually. And yeah, but my other friend Dan I met, and now, I never finished that thread. And then he became a Christian again, and then I think because we used to talk about like the Deconstructionist podcast and Peter Rollins and all these kinds of things that I still like, the liturgists. I mean, even though I have qualms with everybody, whatever. And then he became he came back and then got to be more conservative again. And then he thought I was too liberal for his tastes, I'm sure, and stopped talking to me. It's hard for me to make people happy.
All right, I got to drop, guys. It's good to see you again, Sarah.
Yeah, you too. Tell Texas hello for me.
I will. I'm looking out the window at Texas right now, so I'll let it know. Bye, y'all.
See you, bud. Okay, Sarah, this is like We
Are you
don't
gonna let
have,
everybody else in, or is it?
huh?
Are you gonna let everybody else in?
Do you want me to? Are you
No.
uncomfortable? I wasn't done. I let you guys in because you guys are special and you wanted in and you got special privileges. I wasn't even close to done with my ranting. I was telling my wife, see there, I stopped myself again, that I've realized, here, I'll just talk at you and you can respond. I'll do a Jordan Peterson. I'll tell you things and I'll be like, what do you think about what I've just said? um, but I've realized that I never thought of myself this way that I've realized I'm creative because all the people that I most relate to are creatives. Or like when I read a really good novel, like if I read Cormac McCarthy, or I've been reading Gilead recently, or like when I read East of Eden, when I read some of my favorite books that I've ever read, I'm just like, it feels like finally someone else who like sees the world the way that I see it and is talking about things in ways how I think and feel. However, I don't write. I never have. And I don't play music, although I relate to a lot of, the songwriters and poetry in music and that sort of thing. And so I was talking to my wife and I was thinking, I think I just need to find a way for some sort of creative outlet. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that is writing, and I just need to submit myself to the discipline of writing,
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was gonna
but
ask what you think that would be.
right. Um, or I don't know if we are I'm of two minds of it, if you can believe, or if it's something like this where I just commit myself to. I said something. This was the point I was going to get at. Is I just commit myself to doing a live stream or a video every day, as almost just like a diary meditative thing, and just see what happens. Although the problem with a video is I'll forget about what I talked about almost instantly. Whereas with writing, you have a record of it. It's kind of interesting that way. But I don't know with technology in this medium, because I just posted that at Paul. Paul said something on Twitter, and I just posted my video of Gutenberg 2.0 because he was talking about this feels like a moment where something new is happening. Like even if you look at a big picture, the 500-year thing plus a new technology, like there's something happening with streaming, YouTube, and this medium. And so I'm like, well, maybe I should just lean into that. Like to start writing, is that trying to drop back into a previous medium and technology that is, I don't think it's ever going to go away, but it's not, I don't know. It's not the vanguard. You know what I mean?
How do you
Doesn't
see
feel
this
like.
as how do you see this as being a creative endeavor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know, because it's a so the way I will relate to it, so Cassidy, our mutual friend Cassidy, I had a conversation on my last conversation on her channel. It was when she was wanting to start this kind of series talking to creatives. And so she reached out to me to have that. And that's one of the first things I said to her is I was like, I think that's funny because I don't think of myself as a creative person. And she was just like, I think of you as a very creative person. And so I don't know.
Do you think that relates to openness?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think that's part of it. But maybe just like this medium, the other piece I was going to add in is like Rogan. Rogan has talked about on his podcast how he doesn't really, I mean, with his stand up and comedy and stuff, I guess he's creative, but like his podcast, is that being creative where he just says, I'm just talking to people. I'm just doing what I would always do. But is that a creative enterprise? I mean, in a sense, he's creating a space and a culture and a vibe that I think didn't exist prior to him. So I don't know. Is this somehow, I think this aspect of TLC and like a person relation based online community that isn't centered in because I think TLC really is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are other spaces. I don't know of them that are. It truly is person based. It's not ideological. Like we're not coming together to like hook up and find dating, although that happens sometimes. It's not about ideas, although we talk about a lot of ideas, but it's about all kinds of crap, you know? It's like Chad coming on his stream and putting together a crib and talking about work. Yeah, boy. What up, Trip?
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Have you been listening?
No, I just got out of the shower. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
You missed some epic conversations. So
Oh, well, I'm sure. Fill me in. Give me the summary. What's the TLDR?
mostly it's just Luke talking.
Believe it or not. So what we were just talking about was, or I was talking at Sarah about, was whether this kind of thing is a creative enterprise.
Well, you had said you wanted to figure out something creative to do. And then you
Yes.
said maybe it's live streaming. And I said, how is that creative to you? What do you see that as?
Well, so this is part of my problem with it. I think of it as it's relational external processing of ideas. But I think one of the really valid criticisms of TLC is that it's like that cartoon, like that single pane cartoon where it's just like lines of people who like want to talk about how they want to change the world, and it's just like backed up around the corner, and then lines of people that are actually doing something, and it's just like no one's there. So that's an aspect of TLC that I don't like. I don't have very much interest in that, which is why if I start a live stream or something, like even now, I already feel the clock ticking. Like I have to be done with this soon because I have shit to do. Like
Yeah.
I can't just sit here not accomplishing things. Or it's one of the reasons I really like doing construction things or building a window well or whatever, because it's just, I feel good. Like I will feel great about that window well that I made for years.
Well, it's like that poem, the last line.
Yes. Yeah. Should we read it again since where you saw it probably in the chat, but
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think I mean, it's kind of, it goes back to like the medium is the message thing. Do you think that's that's actually like what TLC, whatever we want to call that, what it almost invites you to do?
Take it back to the real world?
No, I'm actually thinking the opposite.
Oh,
Pulling you out of it. I'm actually thinking that like TLC and like internet conversations and stuff like that, like it invites at least a certain kind of personality to just think the only thing that matters is that everyone agrees with me. So I need to get online and tell everyone how I feel about everything, think about everything, as opposed to doing something, right? It's like, it's almost like draws you out of it. I know we were having the whole argument about video games on the chat earlier, but like I think that's probably the criticism that Sam would have of like video games. It's like it takes you out of the real world and into this other thing. And I think that like there is a danger of like TLC being that. I mean, same thing with podcasts or anything else, right? Is you can just be like, oh, or politics, the only thing that matters is the biggest thing that we all talk about and that kind of stuff, as opposed to being like, hey, like my neighbor needs some help or something, right? And I think that that's part of like the personality trait that gets drawn into TLC is the person that just wants to hear themselves talk. And the most important thing is getting validation from everyone else about what they already think. I'm guilty of this too, right?
Just say it to my face, Trip.
No, I'm with you, Luke. Like I do this too. Like I love the sound of my own voice, as you can probably tell since I joined, and I've been talking a lot since I joined. So, yeah. So like I'm there's not a criticism of you. I just think like it is a certain personality trait that is drawn into that, and so I don't know if it's a feature or a bug, but I think it can be a detriment to people to think that like, oh, the most important thing is for me to just like chat online with people, as opposed to building something. And I get that way too. Like I can lose myself in podcasts and everything else and just listening and talking and chatting and that kind of stuff and convincing people that, about my opinions on everything. And I just wonder like whether or not like we would all just be better off, like just, yeah, like we were talking earlier, Luke, like just make some better coffee for your church. Maybe that's actually better and more impactful. Like maybe.
So it's my response to that, and we all know Sarah's just here to listen to us. That's what she does in the chat.
That's what I live my life to do.
But I was having this conversation with my wife about, because one of our biggest family struggles is technology, and with kids, and just arguing with them about technology and screen time and cell phone time, and we do screen-free Sundays, and it's just like a battle every time. And largely because of TLC and online friendships, because like I would know none of you guys except for the internet or Sam. And I have people that I dearly love because of the internet. And I often think of like, is it just kind of like an old man response to just be like, this thing is going to take us out of the world? Because people said that of literature. People said that of novels. People have said that about every technology. And it makes me think of
Plato said it about poetry, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And
so that's
Christian Baxter had a conversation with all of the what do they call them? Zoomers, Generation Z type people in the corner, these younger guys. And that's one of the things that President Foxman, who I think is awesome, said, is that a lot of older people can talk about video games like almost verbatim, like you just did. But like, okay, to steel man it, I guess. This is something I say to my wife that I don't think she likes. To steel man it, and I really don't have, I'm just playing devil's advocate, is maybe video games or this are fine and they're just a new way that we're doing things. Unless, I mean, I don't know. I think it's pretty clear. Like you can take the worst case example of like somebody who's online and not even passively listening while they're working for like 16, 18 hours a day. Like that's not what we're talking about. Like that, I think, is probably some sort of addiction or coping or unhealthy thing,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's just more, it's kind of like saying, sugar is addictive, right? And so like if you think about like the sweetest thing that you would have gotten 1,000 years ago, it'd been like what, honey, right? A carrot, something like that, right? But now we've distilled it down into something really refined, and you can almost like freebase. And I think that can be what like the internet and this kind of stuff can be, is that you replace. It's so easy and rewarding to replace it and see the chat scrolling and the likes and everything else like that. It's much more than you could have gotten writing a letter 1,000 years ago or something.
Yeah, the feedback, affirmation,
right.
It's fast, and it doesn't, and you can do it without a lot of
no effort.
Yeah, somebody was just Jason, my buddy Jason in here. This guy, Almond Tree, just sent me this podcast. I probably shared some with you, but Weird Studies with J.F. Martell, who's just awesome. Like he's the one who recommended the book Little Big. My last book club book that I picked was Into the Nightland, which I think everyone in my book club hated, but I thought was awesome. J.F. Martell recommended both those, but they had a podcast on, they were talking about writing, I think, and even things like writing longhand versus typing versus writing on a computer, because they're both creatives, and the different demands that has on you and how those different mediums play into the creative act. I don't know. It's fascinating stuff. Because this can be very easy, obviously. Like I put very little effort into it. When I live stream, I'm just like, boom, these are all the things that I'm thinking. And then I just start talking, which is also my wife when I was going into saying, well, maybe I'll just do a video every day where I just go for an hour and I just do something. And she's like, could you just talk for an hour? And she's like, yeah, you could. Just go talk to yourself for an hour.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not even saying that I'm convinced that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that that's like there's probably a place for that. The like cathartic, just like I need to like talk to someone about this, and it is easier to talk to people that like, oh, now I have this person that just happens to live, in Minnesota, right? That I can talk to about something that is I find interesting. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that like there is something about the internet that can go too far, where people just instead of actually trying to like live life and those kind of things, they kind of like it's an escape from life, I feel like, and I think that's where it goes too far. So, and I'm very online too, so this is as much a criticism of myself as everyone else, so I'm not trying to criticize anyone, but like that's kind of one of my worries is like whenever I see like people that are just like they're always in the comment section or whatever, I'm just like, maybe like, I don't know, go do something, go like play with your kid, I don't know.
Well, and it's so much easier online too, like because you don't have to deal with the person in your everyday life. If you have a disagreement with someone online, one, you're going to get a lot of people who are affirming your disagreement and backing you up, and then two, you don't have to see that person, you don't have to interact with them, and it's
well, and I was just thinking this the other day, like who are the most disagreeable people in the TLC and in the corner? They aren't married and don't have families. I mean,
I'm 0% disagreeable.
Well, no, I know, but you are,
or I'm
like
100% disagreeable, I guess. I'm 0%.
We're talking about like big five temperament. Like I get that. I'm first percentile politeness, but I'm talking about disagreeable in the way I'm talking about adverbial versus adjectival, like the way that you interact with people in this space.
Oh,
like
yeah.
They're very antagonistic.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's almost like antisocial, some of them, right? It's like, it's just not like you can disagree with someone and not be antisocial. But yeah, no, I think that's true. I don't know. And so it just like gets me thinking, like, should I like, I don't know, like maybe I do spend too much time just like in my own little world, this own like digital world that I've created for myself. And maybe I should like volunteer more. Maybe I should go to like, I don't know, like maybe I should go to mass every morning. Like, would that be better for me? Would that be better for the world around me? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, you say creating the world for yourself, because I always think of the Green Lady in Paralandra, how when she's being tempted, she's shown herself, and how that really is what we're doing when we're online, because we're curating it, but it's also being curated for us based on what we are attracted to or what we spend time looking at. Right. So I always think of that.
Yeah.
I'm
Chad, what are you trying to show us?
Unbathed, disheveled person.
Is it not working?
No, it is working.
We're seeing it. We see you.
His trip is wrong, and here's how. I'm just
okay.
I'm just
Go ahead.
playing with you.
How am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm just playing. I decided to start my own stream to battle Luke.
Look at what. Oh, this is like a simultaneous stream battle. You guys look at Jason.
Look at this.
He has a shoulder holster. He's carrying a firearm.
Yeah, we're live, bro. We got Jess P in the house.
I should go get on that stream. That looks like a better one. I'm just joking. Don't take that personally, though.
Yeah, we're doing a mimetic rivalry right now with these guys. Here, I'll mute over on Luke's.
What are you doing? Are you streaming from your channel? This stream? You're a weirdo.
It's like Inception of TLC. Yeah.
Oh, you can get caught sometimes, though. I wonder. I can get caught in just loops of analysis and analysis paralysis and doubt and maybe, doing this or doing that. And that's kind of, I mean, I guess that's to the point of the idealism versus realism, to get back and deliver on the point. The main idea of the stream, or my main inspiration for the stream, was like it's funny, Chad, I was thinking about this actually when you were making your video the other day about, your little girl that's coming, and you were talking about your own fears of how you're a perfectionist, an idealist, and a romantic, which I'm very much that way. And you have all these ideas about how things are going to go. And I do too. And I think, well, all you guys in here, since you guys are all my closer friends in the stream, details about my personal life that I don't make public, that really push this idealism versus realism thing, of where you just, like, I don't think there are aspects in my life, to get into like Jason's point of, like, if all of reality, if ontology itself is about forgiveness, let's just make it that. And like, to quote George MacDonald, that Jesus is God's forgiveness, and then we are meant to be that to the world, the forgiveness of God. I mean, you could talk about that and be idealistic about that all day. When I have really had to forgive people and am trying to forgive people that have wronged me in ways and hurt me the most in my life, like, that's not which is arguably the most real things I'll ever do in my life. None of that has to do with my intellect or my will. It's just like, I don't know. It's much more. It's way outside the realm of propositional knowing, and it's into this knowing as you are known. It's like.
But how is it not part of your will? I get why you would say it's not propositional.
How is it not what?
How is it not part of your will? Forgiving someone.
Well,
seems like it is.
I mean, it is in ways, but it's almost like the very simple thing with a kid is you can't choose to forgive someone. Like, you can tell a little kid to just be like,
you're commanded to forgive.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are, but I don't think it's something you can choose in like a simple way. You can't just you can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps and forgive someone. This is why little kids have, and I'm using the little kid illustration because I think it's just easier to see, go forgive your brother or something. And they'll go, and you can go say the words, kids can just go over there and say it. But like, the actual forgiveness is just, it's a gift. This is the very Calvinistic sounding thing.
Do you think that's not being cultivated, though, when you tell your child to go say that to their sibling? Like, sure, I feel like you're putting them through the ritual of it, even though they don't feel it and don't understand it, but it's shaping their ability to actually do it in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why, I mean, C.S. Lewis says that about love, right? Like, do not worry about like whether or not you love your neighbor presently. Act as if you do, and then you will find yourself loving them, right? And so, like, it's the same thing with forgive, but that's an act of the will, right? Okay, I'm going to act as if I love you, even though.
And even just saying the words "I forgive you," having them come out of your mouth, changes the way you feel.
Right.
Yeah, so you can. You can do that stuff, but then the actual act of loving or forgiveness is something that is behind and underneath and through that, which isn't the exact thing that you guys are talking about.
Right, but I don't know if it's ever perfect.
Jason,
you still choose to, like, it's kind of like, it's like choosing to go exercise, right? Like, you can say, well, being in good shape is not a choice. You're like, well, yes and no, right? Like, you have to go and do the thing, and then eventually you will be in shape. And the same thing, like, you have to choose to go and act as if you forgave them, and then eventually you will come and to find forgiveness. And so, like, it is a choice, but it's not like a moment in time. I don't think it's something else. But anyway, like you said something earlier, Luke, and I think we were talking about this on the chat before. When you say romantic, what does being a romantic mean to you?
I see it as pretty similar to being an idealist. And it's being very feeling driven. So like I was just saying this to my wife too the other day. It's funny how often this happens. I don't think I communicate this very well and it comes across clearly. This is my motivation. But a lot of times when I'm doing things throughout the day, like most of the time, I'm just like, this will make her happy, or this will put her in a good mood, or this will do this thing. Like my whole, in a lot of ways, like my whole, my whole life is about her. Like it's about like all I'm doing most everything for. And I think sometimes I'm pissed off and like that doesn't come across, but I think it is true. Like I can't remember what it was the other day, but like when I was trying to accomplish a bunch of things, I was like putting out Christmas lights and cleaning out the gutters and making a meal. And I just like did it. And I hate all that practical shit, but like this is very much the male feminine thing, but I can do all that stuff if I'm just like, because like the other day I was in a bad mood. Like a few days ago, I go through these cycles and I was just grumpy for a long time until eventually it got to the point where it like made her mad or like sunk her ship. Like I was my own emotionally drowning person and I just took her down with me. And then she was in a bad mood for a long time. But like the difference between her and I is she can sit in that place. And then like, and I just feel that just like for days afterwards, which hurts. And then but then eventually she softened after a while and we were out at dinner, we were doing something and like I was just being playful and she like started smiling at me and I was just like, I think you have like no idea. Like I live for that. Like when you I felt like I was dying. Like I felt like I was dying for days until you like started smiling at me and I feel like I started coming to life again. That's a romantic. And that's just how I am all the time. Like, I'm just like constantly that way. Like usually when I'm pissed off, it's because I just can't stay in that space all the time.
Do you feel like it would be healthy if you did?
I don't give a shit, really.
I don't know. Sarah, whenever you hear the word romantic, what do you think?
I guess I tend to think that it's the possibility of the idealism actually coming to be in the real world. But I know that it's not necessarily going to be all the time, and it's probably going to manifest in more mundane ways than I think it should. But yeah, I guess it's just holding that. Whoa, what's music?
Mitch, get your Christmas music out of here. What are you doing? Sorry, Sarah. Mitch is rude.
That's right. Yeah, it's like people say don't be idealistic because it's not reality. And I think, well, maybe we should be idealistic and pull our reality up towards that. So I guess that's what I would say.
Okay, Jason, Jason has to come in and talk because you haven't talked, and then Mitch needs to talk, but he's quoting things from Lilith.
Well, it's
So
off
I mean, we
topic
just have to
then.
read it.
No, Lilith, no.
Come on,
Oh,
Trip.
what is it?
Just eventually, this is where I would play my branding, where Sam says eventually he realizes that I'm always right about stuff. But
Well, it's off topic on the romance thing now. I was talking about forgiveness, but you guys were talking about that, and whether it's a choice or not. And I just remembered when I had to forgive my neighbor about something. It felt like a choice. It was like I had to actively say it out loud, and it felt like a choice in one sense of I didn't know how. Like it was just I don't know how to forgive this person. I just want to resent him. But then on the other hand, it was just like there wasn't really another option. So then it kind of felt like there wasn't a choice at the same time. It was like I either forgive him or I just resign myself to just I mean, I wouldn't even say a life of death because you're just like a corpse basically if you're just living in resentment all the time. So I don't even know it's not like the Christian dying all the time. It's just like you're just a hollow shell of something that's just constantly devouring. So it kind of felt like it wasn't a choice. And then that's when it made me think of that quote in Lilith, where, because he's asking the question about it, whether or not he's a free agent or has a free will. And he says something like, what, a man is as free as he chooses to make himself and not an atom freer. And so I think that's what forgiveness does. Like it just frees you. And so, and if you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven type thing. So it's kind of, yeah, I feel like there's something underneath it where it is a choice, but it's kind of not a choice too, because it's all you have. You just cease to be a person or an individual when you don't forgive. Because I don't think you truly reckon with who you are or who others are, because we're all in relationship one way or another. That's all. That's all I had to say.
No,
I'll get back to
no, I agree. Like I think I think it's an act of the will, but it's one that makes you more free. In the end, like you become more of yourself when you're more forgiving. And so like otherwise you become slave to your bitterness and everything else like that. But I think it is a choice. You can choose not to. But it's weird in that you make that choice not to, and you have fewer choices going forward, and interacting. So yeah. So I think it's an act of the will, but it's not a proposition. I agree with you there. Like it's not like a statement. It's a choice, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not forgiving someone just because you say the words, but saying the words can help you forgive.
Yep.
I like that.
Your voice.
What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, can you hear me okay with the music? Zoom kind of filters it out, but I don't know if StreamYard does.
Can we just take a moment to comment on Mitch's beard? This is
Okay.
Nice.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's
Jason,
comment on it.
the fact that Jason just spoke while I was speaking makes me really happy. And one of the things that I think TLC is really needing to get right is interrupting each other, because this turn taking
I couldn't agree with you more.
can really drain you. And when you have, like, when I got on the other day, it was just a Zoom call. It wasn't a live stream or anything, but it was with Cal and Craig. And if Jason would have been there, it would have been the same. Like, we were talking all over each other, and I knew that I could just ram my way in at any time, just stumble all over everybody, what they're saying. And that is just when conversation is happening, is when you're interrupting each other. But it's not, I mean, it can be rude. Like, it's true that it's rude. And so there has to be like this real time investment relationally, so that you can kind of get to that place where you can interrupt in an effective way and instead of a rude way. But it's the future. Interruption is the future of conversation. So when I was, for a long time, they say, like, when you're first starting to socialize with people, you just kind of talk at them. And then there comes this point where they say, like, you're really mature relationally if you go into a conversation and you're asking questions, like you've reached the next evolution. But then I feel like there's something past that, and it's probably making statements that elicit questions. And the other thing that I was liking is that as soon as Jason opened his mouth, I knew that he was going to start talking about forgiveness. And it's like he sees everything through that forgiveness lens. And like you, Luke, you have these particular set of lenses that you're shuffling through, that you see everything through. And that's why you have catchphrases, and that's why you have, things that that people have come to know as your... I'm avoiding hobby horses on purpose because I wanted to talk about the flaws of having a hobby horse. Anytime that you have something that kind of you're defined by, it's actually pretty troubling. If there's something at a certain level of specificity that you're defined by, that is a problem. But at the same time, if there's a certain set of things that you're known for defaulting towards as a matter of not personality, but those are the things that you're in the body of Christ, that you're a particular part, that you're contributing, the hand or the foot or the eye, and that's very good. It's everything is walking this terribly fine line, and we can't keep walking this thing forever. This has got to stop. This life is too. This life is not enough. It's too messed up. If this is all there is, just forget it. Just speaking completely from the hip, and I'm wondering if I should stop or if I can just keep going. I want to be like Luke and be able to do this for an hour, but I've probably only got 300 seconds in me. Yeah, I'm calling it.
It's a special skill set to be able to talk to oneself for an hour. It's not
like we're
something
still
that many
interrupted
people
music.
are gifted with, and that's God's grace to us.
Well, we're all supposed to use the talents we've been given, Luke. So.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And laughter is like interruption, right? It's so great, but laughter is like a really good example of how interruption is supposed to work, because it's stumbling all over what somebody's saying. Like, you'll be laughing while somebody's talking, and that's a good thing. It's like you're contributing right in there. And if you can make your contribution, your actual functional words and sentences like laughter, just kind of trilling over what somebody is saying as they're saying it, it creates this really great, effective, meaningful music.
You know what? I was just thinking as you said that I wanted to share this because, I mean, you got to share things when it just comes up. Just in case people want to watch it, I'll put it in the chat, but this is the Interrupting God. It's an old Randos United chat that
I'm
we
gonna have to
had.
check that out. I like what West Coast Refugee said. All I think about is like, is it James 2 or 3? James 3. All I think about is that diatribe about the tongue, and how if you can control your tongue, you can control basically every part of your life.
I think that's true. I can control my tongue when it's just me in the chat, and I can just fill all the empty space. I do, but to your point, I do agree. I feel like streaming or doing live streams, hosting chats is a particular skill, and it's complicated because sometimes there's internet lag and things, but that's something I'm highly attuned to when I watch other live streams of all those interpersonal dynamics that are going on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you lost him.
He did that on purpose.
I guess, yeah.
That's hilarious.
He's not very good at hosting, Luke.
When I'm typing in the comments on something like a live stream, or when I'm like texting memes to my friends, or when I send an emoji weirdly, or if I send a GIF, I feel like I'm not in control of my tongue. I feel like I'm just blah, blah, blah. And I don't always feel like I'm out of control of my tongue when I'm talking. So it's not really a matter of whether I'm being quiet or not, but you can tell the difference when you're talking if you're in control of your tongue. Like, I speak compulsively a lot. It's one of the things that bothers me the most about myself. And then I'll end up trying to overcorrect, and my wife will freak out because I'll be totally silent. Whereas normally I'm just, gibberish is coming out of my mouth constantly, literal gibberish, nonsense. Like, I don't know how she lives around it. But then I'll get dead quiet. I'm like, I have to overcorrect because this is insane. Like, I'm so sick of hearing myself, and I've just got to completely shut up, even though that's not the most effective fix, and that's not what it means to be controlling your tongue. That's what I have to end up doing.
Wonderful.
Great monologue.
I don't know how I like just eliminated myself from the stream. It's embarrassing. And then I spelled embarrassing wrong, which is also embarrassing.
This is very embarrassing.
It's ridiculous.
But
yeah.
Well, I am not very online, but I used to be more so. And I think it was good for me because I was trying to figure things out that I didn't have anyone to talk to in my everyday life. But I found that it did get to be too much, and I was too focused and attentive to it. But it was really good for me at the time. And I needed that. I needed to be able to talk to people who understood what I was saying. And then it actually did translate into my everyday real relationships in life. And I'm very grateful for that. So it definitely has its place. I think it, like anything, it's a tool. It can't be limited to the online spaces. And then you have to be honest with yourself about the the lack that it does have. It doesn't have the fullness. I just don't think it ever can.
It's almost like anything. Like you can make like your entire life about your kids, for instance, right? And so like there's a certain amount of like, yes, I should, care about my kids. I should be attentive to them. I should, want to like all those things. Yes. And then you meet some people that it's their entire existence is just their kids. So you can go too far even with that. And so I think that one of the things that I think is the danger with something like TLC or YouTube or whatever is that it can go too far. And yeah, I agree, Sarah. You have to you have to know yourself. Like, where are you at? What do you need right now? What's good for you? And but some people, I'm just like, you need to probably just like close the laptop for a minute, just chill out for a second.
Watch yourself.
Touch some grass.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the I think you should leave sketch. I just watched that last night actually, where he's not,
I was thinking
not gonna
about
let him
it too.
talk about his kids. Yeah, you're not gonna talk about your kids in house.
I was just trying to think of so to push back a little, like I completely agree with what you said, Trip, but just to add color or nuance, I guess, is I love one of my favorite things to talk about is Jordan Daniel Wood and his whole his book and everything that book is about, which I don't think anybody flipping understands what he's talking about. But it's he said once I think it was in his interview with Nate on Grail Country, but he said like his whole the whole summary of his book, his very complicated book on Maximus, name The Whole Mystery of Christ, is basically you could say it from this Maximus's Ambiguum 722. And he said that the word of God, very God, wills always and in all things to actualize the mystery of his incarnation. And I think, like, while you can overdo anything, which is where something turns into an idol, and you could be like online too long, or you could read books all day long, or you could idolize your kids wrong, or your wife, or church, or whatever, like thinking within, it could become an idol rather than an icon, which is what everything's supposed to be. Sometimes I think that, and this isn't like an apologetic to do anything, but I do think if this is true, that the will of God, very God, wills always and in all things to actualize the mystery of his incarnation. That's everywhere. That's online. That's in YouTube. That's maybe in AI. I was just talking to my wife the other day about AI, because one of the things Jason says about AI that I just think is so right. This is like where you are like the best TLC theologian, but like AI will become real when we're willing to die for it. Because guess what? That's what's true of us too.
Yeah, because I don't know what makes us any different in our relationship with God.
It's not.
When I get into it.
Well, a human is different from a machine.
Maybe.
Yeah, in that way, in that our Creator died for us.
That's why.
It imparted the life-giving Spirit. That's what I keep going out about.
See, Jason is just a radical incarnationalist.
From the moment of creation, from the moment that you were created and the moment that a machine was created, you were two very different things.
Yeah, but it can be. But like, it's what I'm saying is there's a fundamental life-giving spirit that should be laid at the foundation of the creation of whatever the Creator is.
This is a bridge to T-Grog. Humans are biological machines.
It is a mistake, because the reason
alive.
that a person is made in some ways is we don't have the ability to imbue our point blank creation with our image for whatever that might be worth, in the way that mysteriously we were imbued with the image of God, made in the image of God. A machine is not made in the image of me in that same way.
Like, I hear what you're saying, but like God has no form, and so like it's just.
Wait, God has no form? What?
Until Christ, I mean, Christ
Wait,
is
no,
the
no, no, no,
execution
no.
of the
Form
body.
does not mean body. No,
Okay.
that's not what
So
that
what do
means.
you mean by form?
No.
He's gonna
Start
pull out
over.
some Aquinas. Here's
No.
0%
Oh, no.
agreeableness. Here it comes.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to interrupt
God has
you.
a form.
Starting
He
to
does
get the
not
better
have
of
a.
me. I'm just going to get on my
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, go ahead. Do it.
No, say more. I want to hear. What do you mean when you say that?
So form
Or
is
when I
just
read
like
that?
the understandable. I mean, we use the word Platonic form, right? It doesn't
Okay.
mean body. It doesn't mean physical object. It doesn't mean anything else
Okay.
like that. The form is the pattern of the thing that we're talking about. It's the understandable abstraction that we have out of it. And so like God has a form. He had a form before like Jesus was, born, and he had a form still. He's like Holy Spirit has a form. There otherwise we couldn't talk about this. We couldn't talk about something that doesn't have a form. A formless being is chaos. Like it doesn't there's just nothing to actually talk about. And so God has a form.
I would
It's a
agree with that.
different form than you. God the Father has a different form than you, but God has a form, of course. Otherwise, we couldn't talk. There would be nothing to refer to linguistically if there wasn't a form on the other end of it. Yeah,
There'd be no relational aspect whatsoever.
yeah. There's nothing to talk about. Like it's
Yeah.
I mean, it's the reason why Genesis starts off that like before the earth was formless, and this like it's chaos.
Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about really.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is what is that one thing? Like if God is actually like if there is one God, then there's one thing that allows all other
Mhm.
I guess I don't know if form's the right word, but all other like creation to be and continually come into being. Like new things can be created still, like new people, everything. And so there seems to be one thing that's like never changing, but kind of always changing. And so that's why like I usually
Yeah.
go on about forgiveness because within forgiveness, there's an implication that there's like some truth or some identifiable thing, like some mark somewhere. And so, but then it's all almost like encompassed in this mercy or allowance for things to come into existence. And so it's like that thing, it really feels paradoxical, but that to me is like I was saying, like or the life-giving spirit, and where the creator gives its life for the creation before it even is before it even comes into existence or something. Like I feel like that's the proper way to have children, or which I don't have children, but like you would kind of establish, okay, you establish their beginning and their end. Their beginning is love and their end is love, and whatever happens in the middle, it's like it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's like it's encapsulated in this womb of mercy or something. And so it's like that. Even with AI, I'm like, it's just a tool, and it's just going to be a tool because we're creating it as a tool. But then I ask the question, well, why are we just tools for God? Like, what makes us any different? And then it seems to be that life-giving spirit, which isn't, like you said, it's not a body, it's not but there is like something to it. There is like a form or pattern to it, and it's that I think is what is not given to AI, or not even talked about given. Like people don't even want to talk about giving it to AI because it's kind of scary, because it's like, well, what if you actually did have to die for the creature? Like, then I mean, you give your life for it. I don't know, you give it that life-giving spirit. But Mitch agrees with me still, probably. But
No,
interrupt
yeah.
me. I'm waiting for you to interrupt me.
But it's
Okay. Quick administrative thing. I have to go. I'm running out of time. Do you guys want to keep talking?
not without you, man. No way.
Come on.
We got to go get on Todd's stream now.
Chad the girl dad stream, because we could that conversation that just kicked off could last for the rest of time.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about art, and we never
Yeah,
even
me
got.
too. That's what I joined for. I joined for art.
Yeah, that is. I do want to have that conversation sometime. I should do that, and as an act of discipline, limit the conversation there, because that's something we can tease that out, because we were art and value and all that. Because my wife and I went and looked at a bunch of art this weekend, and I saw this like classical realist painter, and I thought about, and I was talking to this is related to TLC. I'll say this last thing and then shut up, and then people can close. But and I was looking at this artist, and then there was woman in there wandering around who knows the artist. His name is, I forgot already. What's his name? Daniel something.
Graves, I think you said.
Daniel Graves. There you go. Thank you. And he's an American who then eventually moved to Florence and founded the Florence Academy of Art. And he's one of like 4 living people who's kind of sustained that kind of art in the modern world, classical realism. Like if you think about like any beautiful painting where you're just like that, like captured the person's soul in a portrait, it's probably classical realism. And I was looking at some of his paintings and I was just thinking, man, it'd be cool to have him do a portrait of you. But to have him commission a portrait, I asked this woman, it would be like, I mean, in the range, probably starting at about 70 grand. And I was like, that's a lot of money. And then, so we were having this whole discussion of value and beauty and what's worth things. And I mean, I don't have 70 grand to drop. But it's an interesting thing to think about, because if things like those portraits didn't exist in the world, that would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Like those kinds of things should exist.
Here's where I'm a romantic, in that I see myself in the rudimentary sketch that my 6-year-old does, probably more or as much as I would in a 70 grand painting. Not that maybe that would be the higher form of it, but I think we can't ignore that we're able to see that in the small things, in the mundane things. And it might be that I'm the only one that sees that. Maybe everyone else would see it in the $70,000 painting. And maybe we should have those paintings. I think we should. But it's just, I don't know. I can't live my life thinking that I'm not able to participate in that if I can't fork up the money. Like, I want to spend money on beautiful, fantastic things, but I have my limits. Everyone has their own abilities and financial resources.
No, absolutely. But you're doing that in your beautiful prosphora bread, you're doing those in your own ways and to your own degrees, which is like, that's another thing I tell my wife. Like, I show her your stupid crescent rolls and I'm just like, Sarah, I was at like loving, friendly, low grade anxiety of your Thanksgiving pictures for days leading up to Thanksgiving.
Well, I hope you don't actually feel shamed by it, because you might be doing it better than me sometimes when I care about the aesthetics more than the presentation more than the actual thing.
The art world is the. Go ahead.
This goes back to kind of what we were chatting about earlier about being a romantic and seeing like the levels of it, because I think to be like a romantic or an idealist, like, yeah, you want to elevate, but then you also have to know that I'm never going to reach the pinnacle, right? No matter what, and anything I can do. I can be a romantic about my relationship with my wife. I can be a romantic about my kids, my like art you buy, whatever. You're never going to reach that. And so I think that's kind of like the challenge of being a romantic, is to realize that like I'm going to try and elevate the world that I'm living in, but I know I'm never going to get it to where I want it to be, really, ultimately. And that's like kind of like the tragedy of being a romantic, actually, is that. And so that's why I was wondering, Luke, like, how did you define that term? Because I think you are right. You are romantic, but like, I feel like you're just constantly like, but it's not perfect, right? It's not the way that I really want it to be. And that sucks, right?
The art world is like the Wild West, with this portrait that's $70,000. I know people who can produce something of that quality personally, right? I do believe that. Like, I know some incredible artists. They do things with paint and canvas that I just can't believe is possible. Now, I know that there is some nuance, and like some technical stuff to what makes great art, but I think a lot of it is very arbitrary. And so it's also with romanticism. You can romanticize anything. You can romanticize like a TV dinner at your house. It's not like an incredible gourmet meal that has all this science and art that goes into it, but you can romanticize anything. And the art stuff has become even more arbitrary than we could ever imagine. we're sort of like allergic to standards, for better and worse. We want an ideal, but then we want to romanticize things that are not the ideal and subvert the ideal. And so art is completely, I mean, it is an unregulated world in which you can, as is often satired, have a wadded up piece of college ruled notebook paper, that's going to sell for, $20K or something because of the way it was described or who was describing it, or the criticism behind it, or the personality of the person who issued it due to a commission. And I'm not sure how related any of this is, but
No, I would agree with that criticism of modern art. I think that Sarah, Luke, and I are about the opposite of that in terms of what we think art is, as possible. But no, I agree. Like modern art is like it's arbitrary, but I don't think that that's actually true. I think we all know that. So I think we all actually know it.
We have these. Like I like to say to people, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying, even though they may not. I'm like, you know what I'm saying, or I know it when I see it. Is this sort of thing. But actually, I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, I get a lot of pushback when I say something like that, and it has to do with trust. It's like currency. It has to do with trust. Art has to do with some kind of agreed upon false bottom that you're building up from. And I don't know about you, Trip. I don't know if we've ever even talked, but Luke,
I don't think so.
I think Luke really doesn't have an obvious standard for beauty or for knowledge, or like there's a lot of freewheeling in there, for better and worse.
No, Luke tells me I'm beautiful all the time. So like he definitely has an objective standard, and you're looking at it right here. Okay.
If you want to know what a man is, a beautiful man, a beautiful, smart, successful man. Okay.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't know, Luke. How do you not think that there's? I mean, okay, I think there's a difference between objective and articulatable, right? These are not the same thing.
Luke
So
is an
is
anarchist.
there?
He's an anarchist.
Yeah, okay, but like let's let Luke talk for himself. Like, there's a difference between objective and I could write it on a piece of paper and define it in words.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You actually not believe in objective beauty, or you just think it
absolutely
can't be like propositionally described?
Yeah, I don't like the objective subjective divide. So like it's a I mean, and part of this gets into my like the whole thing that I always try to talk about with relational ontology and personalism is that I think and it's my understanding of the Trinity and incarnational theology is that there is no, these are like deep debates. These are disagreements that like Nate and I've had forever about when I say things like God the Father within a monarchical Trinity does not exist per se. Like, so like, and in the same sense, like just if you want to take it away from persons, I don't think objectivity exists apart from subjective personal perception of it.
I was going to say, I think you think objectivity exists, but you take issue with the access people claim to have to that object, being as that we're all locked in subjective cages.
Right. I don't think there are. I don't believe in substance ontology. I don't think there are really objects.
I might have an absolute understanding of an object, which of course there are, Luke, but I wouldn't know if I had it. I could know exactly what it's like to be a bat, but I couldn't confirm or deny that I knew.
I think everything exists in love. ultimately, and I think that's the nature of perception itself. And so this is where, like, old T-Grog, my boy here, who left a long time ago, who's like a physicalist who believes in a clear substance ontology, believes in objects, believes in objectivism. I'm about as polar opposite as you can be. So, like, this is the word I would use. Do I believe in real beauty? Absolutely.
Okay. I just think you're just redefining what objective means in different terms.
I mean, maybe. I think I'm trying to do it for reasons, because I think it's stemming from a broken paradigm that keeps stumbling around.
I think objective subjective to you like carries a lot of like connotations that you don't want to sign up for. But like you do, I think, believe in what I would consider objective beauty.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm probably doing a semantic dance to make a point, and to
Right.
really emphasize doggedly on this point, because I think it's because of people like the old my good friend T. Grog. But really, I'm just gonna let you guys talk, and I'm gonna go
See you
because
guys.
I have stuff to do.
Thanks.
And then I can
Luke, before
maybe
you go,
moderate.
love you, man.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Good to see you, my friend. And
Good to see you too.
I should take off too, but we should talk more about the art thing because I have.
Yeah, we need one just on art, I think.
Okay, that would be good.
Before you
And
go,
I
Luke,
do.
You gotta say hi to my puppy here. She's
Oh, he's so
Brandon.
cute. He has a shirt on. That's
He's
unbelievable.
cold. He's cold. He's only 2 months old, and he's cold.
Oh.
He's shaking.
I
So
love it.
anyway, all right, I gotta go too. I just came on just to tell you that there's I'm going to interview an author about who's done a biography on Wimber and John Wimber, and one Wimber line is believe your beliefs and doubt your doubts. And it seems like doubting our doubts seems to be or I know he says doubt your doubts and believe your beliefs. We tend to believe our doubts. That's the point. Doubt our doubts. And what we really in the corner, believing our doubts is especially in the corner.
I'm frazzled. I'm still frazzled from our last conversation, Mark. That was intense. That was heavy.
I'm sorry.
Just like it was my fault, but
no, it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, have fun, Luke.
And things are going bloody crazy here in Georgia, and I'm I'm trying to find some little space of like peace and relaxation. And
what's the cliff? Hey, Mark, what's the cliff notes of what's happening in Georgia?
So so sometimes people question the elections in America, but here in Georgia, it's like that on like speed or something. It's like these are really questionable elections. And the Prime Minister announced that they're going to kick away from Europe, and they're going to go with Iran and Russia and China. And the people of Georgia are really unhappy about that, so they're all gone protesting. And Georgians are very peaceful protesters, and they sing and party while protesting, and it's all fun stuff. And then for reasons that nobody understands, the police turn up and just start smacking people, and that's going on tonight. And my wife has just rushed out of the house because she wants to try and rescue some friends. And anyway, I don't want to drag anyone down. I want you guys to lift me up. Okay, so
no, well, Sarah, maybe you don't
go in that direction. Sorry, say again?
I said, Sarah, maybe you don't want to move to Georgia.
Yeah.
It's a great place to live, but you get this stuff kicking off. So anyway.
I didn't know that when I traveled to Georgia, that's something that I discovered, and they said my tour guide said that it's kind of a product of them being somewhat, especially in the north, like these mountain people, but Georgians are very like the kind of American Western individualistic, not individualistic, but like kind of don't tread on me independent spirit is like really strong in Georgia.
They're pretty
They
tough
don't like
people.
being told what to do.
Yeah, and especially by Russia.
Yeah.
The current Georgian government is very pro-Russia, and Georgian people bloody hate it. Sorry, Sarah, I missed what you said.
Oh, I said you can't blame them for that.
I'm trying to stay neutral, and I don't want to drag the conversation in my direction. So please, you guys.
Well, no, it's all right.
What we were talking about.
Sorry, we're gonna call it. I think. Sorry to not give you a place to relax from the stuff that's going there. You'll have to find it on some other YouTube stream because I have to go. This is so long for me. I feel like a loser.
Okay, it sounds like you need a pee.
Well, no. It feels like I need to go justify my existence with Protestant work ethic. That's what it feels like.
I was just going to tell you a great story, and now you're leaving.
No, say it then. Sarah has the last word. Sarah, we should close with you anyhow. Let's close with our
Sweet.
Well, you were talking about the prosphora, and I tend to be idealistic as well. So when I was asked to start baking it, I thought, okay, I've seen what other people do. I'm going to do it the best that I can, which I have I think, good motivations for that in a lot of ways. It's like offering the best of yourself, like what the talents you've been given. And so I started researching, and I was like, well, I've made sourdough bread for 3 years. I'm sure I can make this prosphora into sourdough. Watched all the YouTube videos, got my pans, ordered the hand chiseled stamp from the monks on Mount Athos, et cetera, et cetera. And I attempted it, and I utterly failed. It was horrible. And I thought, okay, all right, it's good for me. Tried it again, bombed it. It took probably 5 or 6 loaves before I got one that was suitable. And even then I wasn't happy with it. And I was mentally and physically exhausted because I had spent days. It's hard work. It's like really stiff dough. So you have to work it really hard. And at the end of it all, I was just like, okay, why did I do this? And part of me was glad that I had spent the effort, but also part of me was really questioning that motivation. It's like, was it really to create something beautiful so that I could offer it back? And I think it's both. I think it was both. But I also had to realize that I actually talked to my priest about this, and he said, maybe the next one you make, just use yeast. And I did. And then there have been times when I've tried the sourdough ones again, and it just is not worked out, and I can't figure out why.
You're not supposed to use Pillsbury for
Yeah.
that, Sarah. Jeez, what are you doing?
But just talking about the objective, subjective beauty thing. I mean, I guess you could say like my perfect sourdough artisan, blah, blah, blah. If you line that up next to the one that the single mom made out of yeast and gold medal flour, mine would be more objectively beautiful. And yet maybe the time and the effort and the attention, the motivation even that she put into it, and makes that one more beautiful in a different way. So like, how do you determine that when you don't know the value, when you don't know the story? I mean, I could value a portrait that my daughter drew over $1 million portrait, but that's personal to me. It's more beautiful to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not objectively beautiful to everyone. So I don't know. That could be an interesting conversation.
No, see, I disagree with that. It is objectively beautiful to everyone. It just hits you different. Right?
Well,
it's objectively
it has more value to you, though. It has more.
But, that's true. But like, I could say like it's objectively beautiful for a child to give their mother a picture that means something to her. I could say that's an objectively beautiful thing.
That's true.
Okay, we'll save it for next time. Trip had to mansplain Sarah's closer.
Yeah,
Check your
because
list.
her kid gave her something objectively beautiful, and she should appreciate it.
I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Until next time. Thank you all for coming.
All right.
I gotta go do things. Love you all. Goodbye.
Yeah. See you guys.